Northern Cyprus, officially the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, is a self-declared state that comprises the northeastern portion of the island of Cyprus. Recognized only by Turkey, Northern Cyprus is considered by the international community to be part of the Republic of Cyprus. Northern Cyprus extends from the tip of the Karpass Peninsula in the northeast to Morphou Bay at Cape Kormakitis and its westernmost point, the Kokkina exclave in the west. Its southernmost point is the village of Louroujina. A buffer zone under the control of the United Nations stretches between northern Cyprus and the rest of the island and divides Nicosia, the island's largest city and capital, of both sides. A coup d'etat in 1974, performed as part of an attempt to annex the island to Greece, prompted the Turkish invasion of Cyprus. This resulted in the eviction of much of the North's Greek Cypriot population, the flight of Turkish Cypriots from the south, and the partitioning of the island, leading to a unilateral declaration of independence by the North in 1983. Due to its lack of recognition, Northern Cyprus is heavily dependent on Turkey for economic, political and military support. Attempts to reach a solution to the Cyprus dispute have been unsuccessful. The Turkish army maintains a large force in northern Cyprus, while its presence is supported and approved by the T-RNC government. The Republic of Cyprus and the international community regard it as an occupation force, and its presence has been denounced in several United Nations Security Council resolutions. Northern Cyprus is a semi-presidential, democratic republic with a cultural heritage incorporating various influences and an economy that is dominated by the services sector. The economy has seen growth through the 2000s and 2010s, with the GNP per capita more than tripling in the 2000s, but is held back by an international embargo due to the official closure of the ports in northern Cyprus by the Republic of Cyprus. The official language is Turkish, with a distinct local dialect being spoken. The vast majority of the population consists of Sunni Muslims, while religious attitudes are moderate and secular. Northern Cyprus is an observer of the OIC in ECO, and has observer status in the PACE under the title Turkish Cypriot Community. History: 1960 to 1974. A United Cyprus gained independence from British rule in August 1960, after both Greek and Turkish Cypriots agreed to abandon the respective plans for a gnosis and taxum. The agreement involved Cyprus being governed under a constitution which apportioned cabinet posts, parliamentary seats and civil service jobs on an agreed ratio between the two communities. Within 3 years, tensions began to show between the Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots in administrative affairs. In particular, disputes over separate municipalities and taxation created a deadlock in government. In 1963, President Makarios proposed unilateral changes to the constitution via 13 amendments. Turkey and the Turkish Cypriots rejected the proposed amendments, claiming that this was an attempt to settle constitutional disputes in favor of the Greek Cypriots and to demote Turkish status from co-founders of the state to one of minority status, removing the constitutional safeguards in the process. Turkish Cypriots filed a lawsuit against the 13 amendments in the Supreme Constitutional Court of Cyprus. Makarios announced that he would not comply with the decision of the SCCC, whatever it was, and defended his amendments as being necessary to resolve constitutional deadlocks, as opposed to the stance of the SCCC. On the 25th of April April 1963, the SCCC decided that Makario's 13 amendments were illegal. The Cyprus Supreme Court's ruling found that Makarios had violated the constitution by failing to fully implement its measures, and that Turkish Cypriots had not been allowed to return to the positions in government without first accepting the proposed constitutional amendments. On the 21st of May, the president of the SCCC resigned due to Makario's stance. On the 15th of July, Makarios ignored the decision of the SCCC. After the resignation of the president of the SCCC ceased to exist. The Supreme Court of Cyprus was formed by merging the SCCC and the High Court of Cyprus, and undertook the jurisdiction and powers of the SCCC in HCC. On the 30th of November, Makarios legalized the 13 proposals. In 1963, the Greek Cypriot wing of the government created the Akritas Plan, which outlined a policy that would remove Turkish Cypriots from the government, and ultimately lead to union with Greece. The plan stated that if the Turkish Cypriots objected, then they should be violently subjugated before foreign powers could intervene. On the 21st of December 1963, shots were fired at a Turkish Cypriot crowd that had gathered as the Greek police patrol stopped 2 Turkish Cypriots, claiming to ask for identification. 2 Turkish Cypriots were killed. Almost immediately, intercommunal violence broke out with a major Greek Cypriot paramilitary attack upon Turkish Cypriots in Nicosia and Larnaca, though the TMT, a Turkish resistance group created in 1959 to promote a policy of taxism, in opposition to the Greek Cypriot nationalist group EOKA and its advocacy of enosis, committed a number of acts of retaliation. Historian of the Cyprus conflict Keith Kyle noted that there is no doubt that the main victims of the numerous incidents that took place during the next few months were Turks. 700 Turkish hostages, including children, were taken from the northern suburbs of Nicosia. Nikos Sampson, a nationalist and future coup leader, led a group of Greek Cypriot irregulars into the mixed suburb of Morphou Bay and attacked the Turkish Cypriot population. By 1964, 364 Turkish Cypriots and 174 Greek Cypriots had been killed. Turkish Cypriot members of the government had by now withdrawn, creating an essentially Greek Cypriot administration in control of all institutions of the state. After the partnership government collapsed, the Greek Cypriot-led administration was recognized as the legitimate government of the Republic of Cyprus at the stage of the debates in New York, in February 1964. In September 1964, the then United Nations Secretary-General, UNFCCC, reported that UNFCCC carried out a detailed survey of all damage to properties throughout the island during the disturbances. It shows that in 109 villages, most of them Turkish Cypriot or mixed villages, 527 houses have been destroyed while 2,000 others have suffered damage from looting. Widespread looting of Turkish Cypriot villages prompted 20,000 refugees to retreat into armed enclaves, where they remained for the next 11 years, relying on food and medical supplies from Turkey to survive. Turkish Cypriots formed paramilitary groups to defend the enclaves, leading to a gradual division of the island's communities into 2 hostile camps. The violence had also seen thousands of Turkish Cypriots attempt to escape the violence by emigrating to Britain, Australia and Turkey. On 28 December 1967, the Turkish Cypriot Provisional Administration was founded. 1974 to 1983. On 6 July 1974, Makarios accused the Greek government of turning the Cypriot National Guard into an army of occupation. On 15 July 1974, the Greek military junta of 1967–74 and the Cypriot National Guard backed a Greek Cypriot military coup in Cyprus. Pro-Enosis Nikos Samson replaced President Makarios as the new president. The Greek Cypriot coupists proclaimed the establishment of the Hellenic Republic of Cyprus. Turkey claimed that under the 1960 Treaty of Guarantee, the coup was sufficient reason for military action to protect the Turkish Cypriot populace, and thus Turkey invaded Cyprus on 20 July. Turkish forces proceeded to take over the northern 4/11ths of the island. The coup caused a civil war filled with ethnic violence, after which it collapsed and Makarios returned to power. On 2 August 1975, in the negotiations in Vienna, a population exchange agreement was signed between community leaders Rauf Denktaş and Glafkos Klerides under the auspices of United Nations. On the basis of the agreement, 196,000 Greek Cypriots living in the north were exchanged for 42,000 Turkish Cypriots living in the south. The Orthodox Greek Cypriots in Rizzo, Karpasso, Ias, Andronikos and Agia Triada chose to stay in the villages, as did also Catholic Maronites in Asamatos, Carpasia and Kormakitis. Approximately 1,500 Greek Cypriots and 500 Turkish Cypriots remain missing. The invasion led to the formation of the first sovereign administrative body of Northern Cyprus in August 1974, the autonomous Turkish Cypriot administration. In 1975, the Turkish Federated State of Cyprus was declared as a first step towards a future federated Cypriot state, but was rejected by the Republic of Cyprus and the United Nations. After 8 years of failed negotiations with the leadership of the Greek Cypriot community, the North unilaterally declared its independence on 15 November 1983 under the name of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. This was rejected by the UN and the Republic of Cyprus. 1983 present. In recent years, the politics of reunification has dominated the island's affairs. The European Union decided in 2000 to accept Cyprus as a member, even if it was divided. This was due to the view of Rauf Denktaş, the pro-independence Turkish Cypriot president, as the main stumbling block, but also due to Greece threatening to block Eastern EU expansion. It was hoped that Cyprus's planned accession into the European Union would act as a catalyst towards a settlement. In the time leading up to Cyprus becoming a member, a new government was elected in Turkey and Rauf Denktaş lost political power in Cyprus. In 2004, a United Nations brokered peace settlement was presented in a referendum to both sides. The proposed settlement was opposed by both the President of Cyprus, Tassos Papadopoulos, and Turkish Cypriot President Rauf Denktaş. In the referendum, while 65% of Turkish Cypriots accepted the proposal, 76% of Greek Cypriots rejected it. As a result, Cyprus entered the European Union divided, with the effects of membership suspended for Northern Cyprus. Denktaş resigned in the wake of the vote, ushering in the pro-settlement Mehmet Ali Talat as his successor. However, the pro-settlement side and Mehmet Ali Talat lost momentum due to the ongoing embargo and isolation, despite promises from the European Union that these would be eased. As a result, the Turkish Cypriot electorate became frustrated. This led ultimately to the pro-independence side winning the general elections in 2009 and its candidate, a former Prime Minister Dervis Eroglu, winning the presidential elections in 2010. Although Eroglu and his National Unity Party favors the independence of Northern Cyprus rather than reunification with the Republic of Cyprus, he is negotiating with the Greek Cypriot side towards a settlement for reunification. In 2011, Turkish Cypriots protested against the economic reforms made by the Northern Cyprus and Turkish governments. Administrative divisions. Northern Cyprus is divided into 5 districts: Lefkosa, Magusa, Gurn, Guzeli, Urtaniskal. In addition, there are further 12 sub-districts divided between the 5 larger districts and 28 municipalities. Politics. The politics of Northern Cyprus takes place in a framework of a semi-presidential representative democratic republic, whereby the president is head of state and the Prime Minister head of government, and of a multi-party system. Executive power is exercised by the government. Legislative power is vested in both the government and the Assembly of the Republic. The judiciary is independent of the executive and the legislature. The president is elected for a 5-year term and is currently Mustafa Akinci. The current prime minister is Hüseyin Özgürgen. The legislature is the Assembly of the Republic, which has 50 members elected by proportional representation from 5 electoral districts. In the elections of July 2013, the left-leaning pro-unification Republican Turkish Party won a plurality of seats in the Assembly. Due to Northern Cyprus's isolation and heavy reliance on Turkish support, Turkey has a high level of influence over the country's politics. This has led to some experts characterizing it as an effective puppet state of Turkey. Other experts, however, have pointed out to the independent nature of elections and appointments in Northern Cyprus and disputes between the Turkish Cypriot and Turkish governments, concluding that puppet state is not an accurate description for Northern Cyprus. Human Rights and Law. In January 2011, the report of the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights on the question of human rights in Cyprus noted that the ongoing division of Cyprus continues to affect human rights throughout the island, including freedom of movement, human rights pertaining to the question of missing persons, discrimination, the right to life, freedom of religion, and economic, social and cultural rights. Freedom House has classified the perceived level of democratic and political freedom in Northern Cyprus as free since 2000 in its Freedom in the World report. Freedom House ranked Northern Cyprus as free in 2016 with the scores: political rights 2/7, civil liberties 2/7, and aggregate score 79/100. Reporters Without Borders World Press Freedom Index ranked Northern Cyprus 76th among 180 countries in 2015. The Greek Cypriot and Maronite minorities are denied the right to vote in elections or run for office. World Happiness Report 2016 of United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network ranked Northern Cyprus 62th among 157 countries. Gallup Healthways Wellbeing Index of 2014 ranked Northern Cyprus 49th among 145 countries. Northern Cyprus received 153 asylum applications during 2011-14 according to United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, International Status and Foreign Relations. No nation other than Turkey has officially recognized Northern Cyprus as a sovereign state. The United Nations recognizes it as territory of the Republic of Cyprus under Turkish occupation. Pakistan and Bangladesh had initially declared the recognition of Northern Cyprus as a sovereign state shortly after its declaration of independence, but they withdrew the recognition as a result of U.S. pressure after the UN deemed the declaration illegal. The United Nations considers the declaration of independence by Northern Cyprus as legally invalid, as enunciated in several of its resolutions. In the wake of the April 2004 referendum on the United Nations Annan Plan, and in view of the support of the Turkish Cypriot community for the plan, the European Union made pledges towards ending the isolation of Northern Cyprus. These included measures for trade and €259 million in aid, a pledge by the EU to lift the embargo on Northern Cyprus in the wake of the Annan Plan referendums has been blocked by the Greek Cypriot government. In 2004, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation upgraded the delegation of the Turkish Cypriot Muslim community from observer community to that of a constituent state with the designation Turkish Cypriot State, making Northern Cyprus an observer member of the organization. A number of high-profile formal meetings have also taken place between former President Mehmet Ali Talat and various foreign leaders and politicians, including the former U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, the then British Foreign Minister Jack Straw, and former Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf, and between President Dervis Eriglu and Ban Ki-moon, Secretary-General of the United Nations. In 2004, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe gave observer status to the representatives of Turkish Cypriot community. Since then, Northern Cyprus's representatives have actively participated in all PACE activities without voting rights. The European Union considers the area not under effective control of the Republic of Cyprus as EU territory under Turkish military occupation and, thus indefinitely exempt from EU legislation until a settlement has been found. The status of Northern Cyprus has become a recurrent issue, especially during the recent talks for Turkey's membership of the EU, where the division of the island is seen as a major stumbling block in Turkey's road to membership. The Autonomous Republic of Nakhchivan in Azerbaijan has issued a resolution recognizing the independence of Northern Cyprus as a result of the Nagorno-Karabakh issue. However, Azerbaijan itself has not recognized North Cyprus. Turkish Cypriots have been applying for decades for passports issued by Cyprus. When the entry points with the Republic of Cyprus were closed, the applications were made either through middlemen or through consulates and embassies of Cyprus in other countries. A yearly increase in the number of applications for such passports of 10 to 15% was observed in years prior to 2001, when the rate greatly increased and 817 were issued in the first 8 months of 2001 as compared to 448 for the whole of 2000. After the opening of the borders with the Republic of Cyprus, Turkish Cypriots started line-ups applying for Cypriot passports by visiting the Republic of Cyprus and showing proof of the Cypriot ancestry. There are 7 border crossings between Northern Cyprus and the Republic of Cyprus. Since May 2004, some tourists have taken to flying to the Republic of Cyprus directly, then crossing the Green Line to holiday in Northern Cyprus. On September 21, 2011, Turkey and Northern Cyprus signed an EEZ border agreement in New York. In October 2012, Northern Cyprus became an observer member of the Economic Cooperation Organization under the name Turkish Cypriot State. Military. The Security Forces Command consists of a 8,000-strong force primarily made up of conscripted Turkish Cypriot males between the ages of 18 and 40. There is also an additional reserve force which consists of about 10,000 first-line and 16,000 second-line troops conscripted up to the age of 50. The security forces command is lightly armed and heavily dependent on its mainland Turkish allies, from which it draws much of its officer corps. It is led by a brigadier general drawn from the Turkish army. It acts essentially as a gendarmerie charged with protection of the border of northern Cyprus from Greek Cypriot incursions and maintaining internal security within northern Cyprus. In addition, the mainland Turkish Armed Forces maintains the Cyprus-Turkish Peace Force, which consists of around 30,000–40,000 troops drawn from the 9th Turkish Army Corps and comprising two divisions, the 28th and 39th. It is equipped with a substantial number of US-made M48 pattern main battle tanks and artillery weapons. The Turkish Air Force, Turkish Navy and Turkish Coast Guard also have a presence in northern Cyprus. Although formerly part of Turkish Fourth Army, headquartered in Izmir, the sensitivities of the Cyprus situation means that the commander of the Cyprus-Turkish Peace Force also reports directly to the Turkish General Staff in Ankara. The Cyprus-Turkish Peace Force is deployed principally along the Green Line and in locations where hostile amphibious landings might take place. The presence of the mainland Turkish military in Cyprus is highly controversial, having been denounced as an occupation force by the Republic of Cyprus and the international community. Several United Nations Security Council resolutions have called on the Turkish forces to withdraw. Economic research has found that military expenditure in northern Cyprus has a statistically significant impact on economic growth. Geography. Northern Cyprus has an area of 3,355 square kilometers, which amounts to around a third of the island. 75 kilometers to the north of northern Cyprus lies Turkey, with Syria lying 97 kilometers to the east. It lies between latitudes 34 degrees and 36 degrees north and longitudes 32 degrees and 35 degrees east. The coastline of northern Cyprus features two bays, the Morphou Bay and the Famagusta Bay, and there are four capes: Cape Apostolos Andreas, Cape Kormakitis, Cape Ziatin and Cape Kassa, with Cape Apostolos Andreas being the end point of the Karpass Peninsula. The narrow Kokkina mountain range lies along the northern coastline, and the highest point in northern Cyprus, Mount Selvili, lies in this mountain range with an altitude of 1,024 meters. The Mesoarea Plain, extending from the Gazali-Ut district to the eastern coastline, is another defining landscape. The Mesoarea Plains consist of plain fields and small hills, and is crossed by several seasonal streams. The eastern part of the plain is used for dry agriculture, such as the cultivation of wheat and barley, and are therefore predominantly green in the winter and spring, while it turns yellow and brown in the summer. 56.7% of the land in northern Cyprus is agriculturally viable. Biodiversity. A relatively unspoiled part of the Mediterranean basin biodiversity hotspot, northern Cyprus has considerable ecological diversity, containing a variety of terrestrial habitats. Its flora includes around 1,900 plant species, of which 19 are endemic to northern Cyprus. Even in the urban areas, there is a lot of diversity. A study conducted on the banks of the Pedias River around Nicosia found more than 750 different plant species. Among these species are 30 of the orchid species that are endemic to Cyprus. An endangered species that is the subject of folktales and myths is the sea daffodil, found on the sandy beaches and endangered due to the disruption of the habitats. The Meadows tulip is a notable species that is endemic to northern Cyprus. It is only found in the villages of Tepebasi, Diorios and Avtepe, Ios, Simeon. and is celebrated with an annual festival. In the national park in the Karpass Peninsula around Cape Apostolos Andreas, there is a population of around 1,000 wild Cyprus donkeys. These donkeys, under the protection of the Turkish Cypriot government, are free to wander in herds over an area of 300 square kilometers. The donkeys have earned a strong image for the peninsula, which is also home to a rich fauna and relatively big forests. The beaches of northern Cyprus also include sites where hundreds of loggerhead turtles and green turtles lay eggs, which hatch at the end of the summer, followed by observers. Climate: the winter in northern Cyprus is cool and rainy, particularly between December and February, with 60% of annual rainfall. These rains produce winter torrents that fill most of the rivers, which typically dry up as the year progresses. Snow has been known to fall on the Kokkina range, but seldom elsewhere in spite of low night temperature. The short spring is characterized by unstable weather, occasional heavy storms and the meltem, or westerly wind. Summer is hot and dry enough to turn low-lying lands on the island brown. Parts of the island experience the poiras, a northwesterly wind, or the sirocco, a wind from Africa, which is dry and dusty. Summer is followed by a short, turbulent autumn. Climate conditions on the island vary by geographical factors. The Mesoarea plain, cut off from the summer breezes and from much of the humidity of the sea, may reach temperature peaks of 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. Humidity rises at the Karpass Peninsula. Humidity and water temperature, 16 to 28 degrees Celsius, combine to stabilize coastal weather, which does not experience inland extremes. The southern range blocks air currents that bring rain and atmospheric humidity from the southwest, diminishing both on its eastern side